Hey folks, Nick Kuzmas here. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate all your comments on my page, follows, keep them coming. Please share, hit that share button, hit that like button. Really appreciate it. I want to talk today about skirted jigs and the importance of understanding the shape of the jig head and what it's used for. And when you understand that, you're going to be better equipped to fish the right cover with the right bait. You're going to get more fish in the end. So there are 5 categories that I want to talk about. There's the swim jig, punch jig or grass jig. There's a pitchin' and flippin' jig, which is pretty much the same thing. There's a finesse jig, and then of course the football head. So let's go through. First of all, the finesse jig. There's my hand right there. You know, small profile bait, really finesse bait. Lighter line, spinning gear generally. And you know, weights anywhere from like 1/16 ounce all the way up to a 1/4 ounce. This is a shallow water jig. We're talking, you know, inside of 10 feet. You know, fall rate's going to be fairly slow because this bait is light. And then again, fall rate can change depending on the trailer that you use. Whether you go to a craw, something with more appendages is going to slow that down. But the key is to match it. This is a very small hook, so you don't want to put some big bulky thing. It's going to shorten out that bite size that you have there on that hook. Matching a bait to the right size of this jig is going to be great. So again, finesse situations, clear water, you know, shallow gravel, sand, boulders, you know, maybe some scattered weed. This jig's going to be great. Post spawn, particularly when those fish are a little lethargic, they're a little bit spooky, something smaller, lighter line is going to get them. This finesse jig is the deal. Then we're going to talk about the flip and pitch jig, which is right here. Real standard jig, pretty much what everybody uses. You can see the shape of that head. Is a great jig for fishing through lots of different cover, wood, grass, docks, rocks, you know, anything in between. If you're fishing a shoreline with different types of cover, this jig's going to do the trick, right? It's a one and all jig. If I'm fishing that dock, I can hit it with the dock. I can hit that wood. I can hit some grass. This is your jig. You know, now it's a little bit bigger, a little bit stouter hook on this one. Understanding too that, you know, the cover is important too. So if I'm fishing around, you know, trees, shoreline trees, and I set the hook on a fish and I want to get it out, I don't want a really soft rod, so I'm going to match my rod to the cover that I'm fishing. If I'm fishing lighter stuff, edge of weeds, something on the outside that I'm not too worried about, I can get away with a little bit lighter, maybe a medium heavy. But generally medium heavy to heavy is kind of what you're using this jig for. Again, all around jig. That shape, the head on a flip and pitching jig, is just great for getting through a multitude of cover. Like I said, you know, because it's a little bit rounded, it kind of rolls off hard cover, wood, rock, doesn't get snagged up. It's great for fallen trees, but still good for vegetation. Not for punching, but that outside edge stuff, you know, weed line, stuff like that. This is great. Then we go to the swim jig. Now the swim jig is right here. It's kind of been lost a bit because of the bladed jig, or chatterbait as everybody calls it. You can see the head of that is very, very narrow, slides through the water, slides through cover very easily. So if I'm fishing pencil reeds, outside edges, weed patch, like patchy weed, docks, logs, swimming this thing slips through real quietly, doesn't have the vibration that that chatterbait has, so it's way more natural in the water, but it has that bulk. So, you know, in lakes that fish are feeding on shad, bluegill, sunfish, I love using this. And I got a little trailer on there, a little 3-inch spark shad I like to match it up with, but you can, you know, use whatever trailer you want, whether it's a paddle tail, a twin tail, grub, something straight. Depends all on fall rate and speed. Matching the speed to the depth you're fishing, and the speed that you want to achieve is gonna pay dividends, right? So you don't want your bait to be rising if you're reeling it too fast. So something with less resistance to the water, a straight tail, is going to allow that bait to sink down, and then vice versa. If I want to fish slow on the bottom, I'm going to have a paddle tail on there just to give that bait a little lift, keep it off the bottom. That's great. Swim jig, like I said, very few people use it because the chatterbait's so popular, but believe me, this California swimmer from Dirty Jigs is fantastic. I love it, and it's a big bass bait, and a lot of guys don't use it, so check that out. That's your swim bait. Then we're going to go to the football head. Now the football head, you can see it right there. It's called a football head because the head's shaped like, you know, Sunday Fun Day right there. This jig is really good around hard cover, so rocks, logs. I like fishing this bait primarily in deeper water. I'm talking 15 feet out to as deep as 30. You know, I'm imitating a craw, put a big chunk on the back. Again, depending on fall rate, how fast do I want that bait to fall? But I'm generally fishing heavier. This is a 3/4 ounce. I go all the way up to an ounce. And then as light as, say, 3/8 to 5/8, again, depending on depth. If I'm fishing deeper, I'm going to go a little bit heavier, get that bait down there, and just crawl it on the bottom. That's the key with this bait. This bait will just roll over rocks, crawl over rocks, doesn't get snagged as much, doesn't get caught up as much. Fantastic bait. I love this bait out here in the fall. I catch big smallmouth on it, catch big largemouth on it. Match your rod to the cover and the depth that you're fishing, and that's going to help you a lot. Football head, big. And then last but not least is the grass jig. Now these have been around for a little bit now, but I remember back in the days it was really hard to punch a jig. They just didn't make them in this shape, but you could see the shape of that head. It's basically like a bullet weight that you would have in your Texas rigs. Very narrow, and that head is designed that way to slip through cover easy. So now where you're throwing that Texas rig, punching, you know, mats, heavy grass, heavy lily pads with floating vegetation or drifting vegetation, this jig is the deal. And I match it with the, you know, a trailer that's in the same thing. I don't want a big bulky trailer that's going to grab that weed on down. I want to make it very compact, like this bait is. Compact bait, compact trailer to slip through cover very easy. Different kinds of cover. I really love this, and you know, man, this is a big bass bait. A lot of guys don't throw it. They go to the Texas rigs quite a bit. This gives you easy penetration in the heavy cover, but I like it because I'm not constantly fumbling around with changing plastics and stuff like that. It's all there. I tie it on. I can fish most of the day, maybe a couple of trailers. I'll glue that trailer on so it doesn't slide out as easy, and you're good. Now, equipment for this, heavy stuff. You're fishing heavy cover. Remember, you set the hook on that bass. You got to get him up and out of that cover before he tangles you up. So heavy, long rods, 7, 6, 7, 8, up to 8-foot rods. Heavy, extra heavy rods. Stout line. We're talking, you know, 40, 50, 60. Some guys get crazy. I don't get crazy with my braid. You know, like 50-pound is max. I've never broken 50-pound. I don't assume I will anytime soon. So that's the grass jig, heavy stuff. This is meant for the heaviest cover. Stuff you cannot penetrate with this other stuff. This grass jig will get in and get you bass. The rubber skirted jig, like I said, is a big bass bait. Catches a lot of big bass in all its stuff, whether it's finesse, swim, flipping, pitching, punch, football heads. They all catch big fish. So next time you're on the water, try and match your jig to the cover that you're fishing, and you're going to catch more fish. Guys, thank you so much. See you on the water.